everybody. This is Anish on the 7 week challenge, and this is week 2 of diving deep into our application LayoverGenie. If you did not have a chance to watch yesterday's video, where I showed a demo of LayoverGenie. LayoverGenie is an application where, let's say you're on a long layover and you are stuck somewhere. What do you do? How can you go and have a good time during that particular layover? So this particular application is going to build a smart layover app where it takes into account approximately how long it takes you from the plane to the gate, how long it takes you from going from the gate to the city, and you want to come back to the airport early enough, and gives you a plan around what you can do in the city, for example, and also gives you links for booking. So that's the idea behind LayoverGenie. So today what we are going to do is we are going to discuss the architecture, and we are going to go a bit into the Lambda code. So compared to last week, this is exactly the same architecture, except we have one additional place where we are going to store our data. Last week we didn't store any data. This week we are going to store it in DynamoDB. And so that's the only addition this week. And if you notice, we have written the code in Lambda, and what we are going to do is we are going to front it with the API gateway. The data is going to be written into DynamoDB, and the Lambda function is going to communicate with Bedrock a few times because I have multiple prompts going in here, and comes back with the output. So let's go ahead and look at the Lambda code. So here you can see the first thing I do is I initialize the Bedrock clients, and then I initialize the DynamoDB resource. The name of the table is layover plans. So if I go into DynamoDB and go into tables and go into layover plans, you can see here that if I explore the table items, these are all what I've done till now. So whatever Bedrock gives, the code is going to parse through it, find out what the city is. Because remember, from our yesterday's demo, you can see that we give freeform entries as text into our application. So it has to parse through all of this, which is possibly what most data scientists do all the time. They have to parse through outputs to get what they want. And finally, the recommendations are saved as JSON. This is why we are using a NoSQL database, so that we can have unstructured data within that. So DynamoDB is the perfect option for that. And so once we are done with that, the place where the booking is going to happen, or where I'm going to link the booking, is Viator. Why did I choose Viator? Because it's one of the few places I was able to find a public API, and their basic access is pretty good. So for example, if I go into Viator's level of access, the basic actually gives you, for a single product data, for example, if we are searching for Paris and all the related outcomes from what you can go ahead and tour, that is the most important thing, and that is available. You can also get summaries, you can get reviews and ratings. So quite a few options were there with the basic API access, and it is self-service. So I always love self-service, no need to contact support. And with respect to the API, the documentation, if you go this particular API, which is search free text, this is exactly what we want. When I write free text, for example, if I say I have a layover in Paris from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., what do? So Bedrock essentially is going to extract Paris smartly out of it, and then we are going to go into Viator and then put Paris, and then we are going to do a bunch of parsing around to get between the two particular times, for which the booking link for whatever is going to be described is going to come from this particular API, which is pretty much, it's really awesome as well. So take a look at this Viator Partner API if you haven't. The only thing I can suggest is, if you actually use this API, just make sure that you understand the basic access and know that all APIs will not work for you. Okay, so you go in here and it tells you affiliate partners and things like that. Okay, now given that this is what we are going to be using, the next thing that I'm going to do is get an API key from them. Fairly straightforward process. They did ask for some kind of an identification and a selfie, so at your own risk do that. And the base URL, they have a sandbox testing and a production URL as well. This is the production URL that I got, because the API key you get immediately for the production URL, so that's why I used it. And once I'm done with that, the first thing that I'm going to do is actually just make sure that I understand Claude. This is the same as what we did last time. The only difference is here I'm having the same thing here and here. I Claude 4 for some reason on Bedrock is just not working well for me. That's why I have 3.7 and a backup of 3.7 as well. Technically, I should do an exponential backup, but I didn't do that. So for now, it's going to be single serial calls to the Bedrock model. Okay, and we already saw what happens last week from that. The next thing I'm going to do is from the freeform text, I'm going to try and get things like city, arrival, departure time, and whether the times are adjusted. So I'm giving a prompt, you're a travel assistant. Given the particular freeform text, return a strict JSON object with city, arrival, and times are adjusted. Okay, so this just means that Claude is going to do this parsing out for me. Okay, and here I'm essentially giving to a partial extent rather than zero shot prompting. I am kind of doing a few shot prompting to some level. Okay, I want to give more context to what I need. And if you all have seen a little bit of prompting, few shot prompting with Claude and all gets you a very long way. So things like I also give specific instructions, like if I say C tag LAX, it should be able to resolve it. And return times are adjusted if the user gives the actual layover window. For example, we say 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And if they give the actual flight times, I have made a difference, because then I have to add something from the flight landing time to flight departure time, or come back to the airport before the flight departure time. So I have 3 hours before and 1 hour after landing. And so layover means they are ready to go. So that's the big difference. Okay. And then I have a default of Rome. And so just making sure that unless I give Rome, don't actually go to Rome for the output. So the output is valid JSON object with 3 fields and no extra text. Okay. So then that's all the parsing. The next thing I'm going to do is a little bit of cleaning up, where I'm going to convert a duration string to hours. So I have a lot of regex expressions for that here. And finally, I'm just going to take the hours that are going to the person has for the layover plus minutes divided by 60. So compute the amount of hours that they actually are going to be there. So 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. means they are going to be there 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 7, 9 hours. Okay. So these are just helper functions, and now I'm going to write the Lambda function. And so here the body.get is going to be freeform. Body.get, I also have city as a backup, meaning if people put the key as city, it should work. And if something doesn't match, I'm having an exit loop that just assumes I have layover in Rome. Okay, so this is just the fallback. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the extract fields from freeform, which is going to be the Bedrock first call, and I'm going to get the city, arrival time, and the departure time. Okay, and some exception handling statements here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is there is first call to Claude, and once I've gotten that city, I've actually extracted. Now I'm going to do another call to Claude, where I'm going to find the time it takes for transfer. So for example, what is the mode of transport are they going to take from the airport to the city? What's the best possible option? And so the airport to city center, again, Claude is going to help us with that. And I'm going to get all the information from it. For example, taxi, here again, I do a few short prompting. I give it an example and only answer the JSON object, where I'm going to get a mode, how much time it's going to take, and description. For example, if it's a train, give something like this. So again, few short prompting, super amazing. I usually don't even do very advanced prompting like React or Art and those kind of things. Like FuseShot really takes me a long way these days with things like Claude 3.74 and all of that. All right. And again, I'm doing some exceptional handling. Now, here the key thing that I'm doing is the transfer minutes. What I'm going to do is one-way minutes. If I get from the JSON, I'm going to take it. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume it's going to be 45 minutes. Okay. So that is the one thing that I'm using. And the other thing that I'm going to use is the transfer. There's going to be a buffer which I'm going to compute, which is going to be the time delta of transfer minutes. What that means is if right now it's 9 o'clock and transfer minutes is going to be 45, then the time delta is going to be the transfer buffer is going to be ending at 9:45. Okay, and so the user already gave the adjusted times, meaning now I'm going to capture in this arrival and departure the actual time that someone can take for a tour. Okay, and if all of this is not being able to parse from Claude, then I'm having a simple condition where I add 1 hour to the exit and 3 hours before departure they need to come back to the airport. Okay, that's one more condition that I have for the next day. At this point, this particular code is not working too well because I'm making too many calls to Claude. And so I'm crossing the API gateway threshold of 29 seconds. So I have to figure out a faster way of doing this, maybe with async processing and things like that. And so um, just saying that for now, if your layover is greater than 1 day, it's not ironclad for that use case, but maybe by this weekend I should be able to do it with all of you. And then there is some string parsing that I'm doing, and then making sure that the times are adjusted. So the adjusted arrival and adjusted departure is just going to make sure that I have enough time to catch the plane, and I account for enough time after I reach the particular airport. And so that gives the layover hours. Okay, so the departure minus arrival divided by total seconds divided by 360, or total seconds for this divided by 3600, that is going to give me the number of layover hours. And so then for short layovers, given that you need 1 hour after landing, so if this condition is not being met, I at least need 1 hour after landing and 3 hours before departure. If that's not going to be met, then I'm basically just saying, I have a default message saying it's best to stay at the airport and relax. All right. And if layover is less than 3, I also have a suggested plan inside the airport. Okay, so this is a place where what I'm trying to do is essentially say that you want to explore the city, but with only, let's say, 2 hours available, then what you have to do is these are some of the things you can do. Again, hard coding this for a backup. Okay, again, like I said, this is fully vibe coded. The only different things that I do is try to do a few shot prompting instead of the AI assistant giving a 0 shot prompt to be given. And so the only thing I usually add is make it few shot. Sometimes I do chain of thoughts if I want the step by step, but few shot usually is all I do. So after that, the next thing that I'm going to do is, okay, so now we have the departure and arrival set up properly. Now we have to come to the activities that are going to be going into the Viator API. So the Viator API is going to take what kind of activities does this person want. And so then I'm going to actually go to Claude again. I'm going to say, within this many layover hours in Paris, for example. Okay, so these are both coming in as arguments. I'm asking it again. I'm giving a few short prompt. I'm giving it examples: museum, boat tour, historic site, cultural shows, and something interesting and varied, just so that all the activities are just not the same thing. And if the keyword parsing is failed, I have again have a backup for it. So these are some of the backup keywords that I have. And so now once I'm done with that, I have the keywords, I have the city, and so then I'm just going to call this destination URL with this particular city. And once I'm done with that, I'm just going to get the particular data from there. Okay, and so I'm going to get a description, and then I'm going to get the data for it. The other things that I get are different pages of what are all different possibilities, so page 1 to page 3, but the top result is going to be the best possible match. I also get other things like what is the currency for that particular place and things like that. And this is the API that I was talking about, where I'm going to post the free text. Okay, when the free text goes, it's going to go in and come back with the different products and results. I also have reviews for the product. This API is not really working well for me, so I have not chucked it out at this point. Same thing with price and duration. That's also not working very well for me. And so, I just have this exit condition. Okay. And sorry, the price is not working, but the duration I'm going to convert it into hours. That's also value score as part of the API. Again, these are all different fields that are available in the basic API search, but the only major thing I'm going to get is the URL, the product.get product URL. Okay, why? Because that's what people are going to click to book. And so once they are done with that, few more exception handling statements, and the final thing is the itinerary. So you're an expert layover trip planner. The traveler has a hard layover window. This is not the flight time. So the window is maximum, okay, going to be 1 hour to exit and 3 hours, but these could change, okay. And the actual time available is going to be an ISO time. This is ISO time, and the airport transit is from the previous Claude query, and the traveler is back. Do not schedule anything after. Again, I give it an example, and then city overview and city intro. Again, these prompts could be worked on, but I have followed basic principles of prompt engineering on at least few shop prompting for most of the things. In some cases, I have, when I was testing, I did show me step by step and chain of thought and tree of thoughts kind of an approach. But for most part, this is just few shot prompting that I have. And so then I have a final thing where I'm going to get the itinerary, which is going to be the final plan, which includes the booking links and other metadata fields. And so with that, this is the Lambda function, everyone. And so let me go ahead and quickly test this. I have a test function written here. So if you remember, the argument is free form. And so just on the Lambda console, let me go ahead and test this out and see what it does. So again, this is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I have a layover in Seattle. So remember, there were like 3 Claude calls going on. So I have to somehow manage it in a way that it doesn't cross the API gateway threshold limits. And so at this point, it is a little stable if I do it for a day. So here is the outcome. So 9:30 to 4:30 it has calculated, okay, because it wants to give time. And 4:30 is the absolute maximum. Here's a perfectly time, and then it gives all of this. It gives the links, and like here's the Viator link, for example. So whatever demo I showed you yesterday all comes from here, and these are all other different options from the pagination. And so ultimately, you need to head back to the airport to ensure you'll be there by 4:30 p.m. with the required buffer as well. All right. So with that, this was probably a longish video, everyone, but hopefully you enjoyed this section. It was pretty technical. And tomorrow I'll just show the API gateway. I showed you DynamoDB today. And again, the same architecture, API gateway, and then we'll look at the Swift code, and then the app should be deployed. Thanks again, everyone, and hope you have a good rest of your day.